Welcome, friends, back to The Yard. I'm your host, Darryl Scotti, and I'm coming to you from the Big Yard Nation here in Cave Creek, Arizona, where today I am blessed, uber jazzed, and excited to be with performing artist and songwriting collaborator Bill Dutcher. Bill, man.
Darryl, thanks for having me.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Pleasure to be here today.
You're a gracious guy, man. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I've had the privilege of working with Bill, and I got to know him through meeting him soon after I moved to Cave Creek with my wife a few years ago, and met Bill through a guy named Gordo. Remember Gordo?
Jason Gordon.
Incredible loop artist.
Fabulous performer and
And
entertainer.
I met him, and he came up to the studio. We were playing some music, and he said, "Have you heard Bill Dutcher?" And I kind of remembered the name. And I don't know if you remembered or not, but you had a reel that you did from Janie's that I clicked on, and you were playing a Led Zeppelin song. You had an accompanist with you, and I clicked on it, and I did a comment, and I said, "Man, I dig your vibe." And I don't know if you remember that, but I really remember you. So then when I met you, I saw you, and I said, "That's the guy, man." It's
there
like,
we go.
whoa.
And then that's when we connected.
We did connect.
Yeah.
And I told you I was a songwriter, and you had done a song from another songwriter in the audience and did his song. So I thought maybe that guy would be open to another songwriter coming up, and I know it's a gig and you're live performing, you got your audience around you, but I dripped on you and you were gracious. You said, "Man, why not, man?" And you gave me your phone number, and it wasn't long before we were up in the studio. And we wrote Sweet Soulmate that we talked about in another episode. Yeah, man, collaborating music, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because that's the vibe of Big Yard Nation. Talk to me a little bit about collaboration with you and your take on it.
I looked at this opportunity as an opportunity to push myself as a musician, both open myself to some new music,
Sure.
Put myself in an uncomfortable environment that would push me as a musician to play better. It was an eye-opening experience because I found the one thing that you have to do when you do this is be a good listener. I think so. That's part of this. And for me, the writing process is one of taking just a basic idea and trying to develop it. But when you throw that element into working with someone else in the room, you just have to be even more of a better listener because you brought me on board to kind of embellish some ideas you had. But then I really was excited with the opportunity where we started from scratch. And that was a great opportunity to kind of really push myself, and because I haven't really done a lot of collaborations with other musicians, in a writing sense, of a songwriting format sense. So I welcomed this opportunity, and it was just a great opportunity to push the bar higher for me and make me a better player.
Wow. Well, you're a fine player is what you are. And,
well, thank you.
And, we've talked to some great musicians in other episodes of The Yard that have collaborated on 54th Street sessions. And, what we hear is a recurring listen, 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 which is what you hit on, and practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
And that's apparent with, not only your band, Audio Farm,
Yep.
but your live performances and what you do over at MIM every year. And if you guys are not familiar with MIM, Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix, it's an incredible place. You could spend 4 days there with musical instruments around the world, but they have a theater there that's acoustically tuned perfect.
It is.
Small
exceptional.
venue, about 250 seats.
$299.
$299,
Yep.
and you sell it out. A local boy sells that out, and there's some great, in fact, I'm gonna see Al Di Meola there. I've seen Manhattan Transfer there, a lot of acts, and Bill Dutcher, you play there and you sell it out. And so in terms of you say that, you welcome the opportunity to collaborate on that. And so run us through the process of Sweet Soulmate, because it didn't take you that long to come up with the A and the B and the C section. For songwriters, you know what I'm talking about. This is verse, chorus, bridge. Yep. And I had most of the lyrics already done. They developed, and I rewrote them over time. But talk to us about how you came up with those three sections and put them in, because it was quick for you.
It was. I mean, we started with a basic idea. You had the lyric sheet. And we started humming lines. We started playing chord progressions. And we soon just kind of found that little kernel, that little nugget that you start to develop. But for me, I find the process as one of having to develop an idea and then kind of put it away and walk away from it for a while. Rarely can I sit down from the beginning and write one from beginning to end and it's finished. I've done that once with one of my songs, but I tend to be a guy that tends to write parts. I will tend to, for some reason, I tend to write choruses first. That's what comes out of me.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the verse. Whereas, the process,
So it's the idea, the concept of the song.
Yes, and I think, we had a lyric sheet to work with. So from there, that process is different. So there we have a story. We have a story to start with. Mm-hmm. From there, that story dictates, is it happy or sad? Well, that's okay, then I'm going to go major or minor. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But when you're not starting with a lyric sheet, for me, when we're writing from scratch, that's tend to where a chorus comes out of me. That's just me and the way I work. And then I'll have to kind of put that down, come back to it and with a fresh mind, and I usually 9 times out of 10 find the verse, and then we start developing that idea, and then we find that refrain or that bridge. So it's a process for me of creating, walking away, coming back and embellishing, walking away and adding to it. That's what works best for my style.
Wow, that's a great process. Sweet Soulmate was kind of like that. I had the chorus. It started with a dinner. I was listening to some background music and with my wife, and I came up with, and it was kind of a Jack Johnson kind of a feel that I wanted in Sweet Soulmate. Walking on the beach kind of a thing. There's a lyric in there, and how she makes me feel no matter what my mood is, mm-hmm. and she turns it around. She's always on time even when she's late. That's my Sweet Soulmate. Yep. And we played on that. And but you took that song not only from the chorus, but you were quick, like I mentioned, in terms of writing that verse and working with those chords and tying them all together. So is that how you go about writing your own material?
I would say in that case too, while you were saying that, I was thinking about something that I think kind of steered the song was the fact that we were working on acoustic guitars. We were on acoustic instruments. If I would have had an electric guitar in my hand, that song would have been different. I really think so, because the vibe that was coming from that lyric sheet, the tone of your delivery and your voice and the vocals and stuff, and this kind of a soulful, delivery to it, dictated the pathway of what was kind of going through my head. And I can't explain it other than there's a little bit of divine magic that just that magic happens to connect from your heart, the brain and the heart, and comes out of the hands, and it just happens when we're there. And that's the most special part, I think, of songwriting, is that moment of discovery with someone else when you are the first to hear something wonderful. Wow. Isn't it neat? I mean, I love it.
Oh man, that's what the Big Yard Nation is all about, man. Yeah. So let's talk about musicianship, and we'll talk a little bit more about collaboration, but musicianship, I know that's huge for you. You have a trio named Audio Farm.
Yes.
And all strong players, and you guys just, and that electric guitar part that you did where you just kind of go off and play and you do some looping and whatnot. Give us your take on what you think, what's important in terms of great musicianship.
I would probably have to say pushing yourself to be a better musician every day, whether that's learning something new, a new song, a new technique, a new scale, but just being a better player tomorrow than you were the day before.
Wow.
That's kind of been my credo, no matter how small a bite I take off the theory tree, if you will. And lately I've really been consumed with, working on more music theory, learning why music works the way it does, working on reading, and it's just all the mechanics that put together that make a better player. In terms of the physicality of it, there is a practice regime that the public doesn't see. When they see an artist, they see that moment on stage, however long that may be. What they don't see is the countless hours that go into to maintain that professional performance standard. But as far as being a musician, for me, it's being cognizant in the moment, listening to the other players, what's going on, adding what needs to be added without stepping on toes. That's a big thing of it. What I am fortunate is that I have the ability to do this in a band format with my trio and play electric guitar. And I always tell people that's kind of like taking the dog off the leash. I get to run around and go crazy on the electric guitar. Some of those pyrotechnic songs are very difficult to do on an acoustic guitar because they're strung with heavier strings. But it's a caveat, because I take all this electric guitar technique I had through the 80s of being in a rock band and playing all that stuff, and I just moved that over to an acoustic guitar, but approached it in a different way, and it's provided an avenue for me to express what's in my heart.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think doing that on stage is the fix for me, if you will, man. I mean, just making one soul move in that crowd, changing someone's mood. I've had countless times where people come up after a performance and they go, man, I had a really bad day. I can't tell you how much that song you played moved me and made me feel better. And that's why we do this, man, is to help people. That's why we do it.
Incredible. And you talked about how you started and working in rock bands. You come from Ohio, and you were playing with bands. Those guys come out here every once in a while and play, right?
Yeah.
And perform with you, and you work regularly around Phoenix as a solo and with your trio Audio Farm. But you go acoustically. You've got this thing that you do at MIM a couple times a year.
Yes.
And I mentioned earlier that as a local artist, you sell that out. That's incredible. What do you do at the MIM? Tell our audience a little bit about what you do. And of course, they can see that on your website. That's Bill Dutcher Music?
BillDutcher.com.
BillDutcher.com.
Yeah.
DUTCHER.
Yeah.
BillDutcher.com. So tell us a little bit about what you do over at MIM, because I went to that concert. So every time you go in there, you take a different collection of artists, right? This time you had a couple acoustic players with you. Kind of different vein, and they do a little bit of their thing. And then you guys come out together and play some stuff. Tell us a little bit about that.
The series I've done at the Musical Instrument Museum is going on about 10 years. It's called Extreme Acoustic. It's a series that I started back actually where I'm from in Columbus, Ohio, back in the early 90s. And I would take this concept to a dinner theater. And this was a dinner theater that was in Columbus, Ohio, that I struck up a relationship with, and they would let me use the venue on an off night. And it had little bistro tables, it was very dark, and it seated about 50 people. So the concept was to bring in acoustic music to this setting here in a listening room format where people could sit and hear the nuances of every note. Because a lot of this music has such pretty dynamics to it that you can't pull it off in loud restaurant, nightclub type environments. So the series really grew legs back in Ohio. And then I moved out here in 2005, made some connections to the Musical Instrument Museum, presented the proposal of doing this series there, and they said, that sounds wonderful. We would love to do this in conjunction with another division of the MIM called IMAZ Music, and it focuses on promoting the local music scene, the local artists. So I kind of got out and beat the street and found all the acoustic players I could find, and started putting together a roster of these shows. And like I said, we're running on probably about 10 years, and they usually do it a couple times a year. But the focus is I bring in 2 different players each time, and the format is each player plays a solo acoustic set, 25-minute set, and then the next player comes out, then the third player comes out. After the third player is finished, then we all come out and do a big unrehearsed improvisational encore.
Incredible.
And it usually just goes over great.
It does, and I can see your excitement because it's a small venue and acoustically perfect, and your smile, even though I was I bought my tickets late, and I'm sitting up at the top with my wife, no bad seats, but I could see your energy coming off of this incredible smile that you're having a great time.
I always tell people I wouldn't do this unless I enjoyed it. And everybody comes up, a lot of people come up at shows and they go, you look like you're having so much fun. And I go, I am, I honestly am. This is my calling. This is what I love to do. And they say if you can find something you love to do, it's not work. And I definitely have that environment.
You talk about what you're doing now. You actually were in the corporate world for a while. It was involved in the business. And
music retail, actually, was what I was doing.
And that just, you got, I don't know, was it the age-old corporate burnout, or was it, no, music is,
Music was pulling at my heart. At the time, I was fortunate that I was working in music retail, and from there I struck up relationships with some industry companies and would go to trade shows and play for them, stuff like that. But out of college, I had a band, the guys that come out from Ohio, and we put out 3 albums of original material, had a really good following out of college and everything, and still stay together to this day playing. But it's come full circle. I've got such a great variety of what I'm able to do, And the opportunity to come on board with you and branch out as a songwriter is something that only just broadened my portfolio, and just and made me a better player. I mean, I really think it helped me listen better. It opened me up to different styles of music that I might not have dipped my toe into before. So I feel really, just happy that I was involved with it, and I appreciate you keep bringing me on board for it.
You appreciate it. I'm humbled by it, and it's been an incredible journey for me too. So let's go back and talk a little bit about. We talked a little bit about songwriting, but what inspires you to write a good song? And we don't need to spend a lot of time on this. There's a couple other places I want to go, but but what is that true inspiration? You said you like to start in the chorus, but is it a thought? Is it a vibe? Is it walk us through that?
Sure. Well, in complete honesty, most of my songwriting, as you know, my style is with my compact discs or instrumental acoustic music that draws from classical and new age and Middle Eastern and bluegrass and rock, jazz, everything. This is honestly, a very new thing to me is diving into the songwriting thing from a lyrical standpoint, of working with a lyricist. You ask what's the writing process for instrumental music? Well, that could be the temperature of the day, the weather for the day, the mood I am in, and observing something I just saw, whether good or bad. But the lyrical side of this creates a total different picture in your head. And I think once those lyrics are introduced, that changes the whole game plan up here. It steers me in a different direction because I'm being affected by emotion of lyrics, I think.
The story? Or?
The story of the song. Yeah, that's steering harmonically where my fingers are going to go.
Wow.
Whereas in an instrumental song, it's my heart. My heart is steering that. I mean, it's really, I would say there's a little bit more emotion that comes out in instrumental music because instrumental music for me, fingerstyle music, is so intricate with its melodies. And I don't say this in a bad way, but lyrics would only step on the song. I really do think so, because some of it is so technically complex that lyrics would only just detract from what's going on melodically with the harmony and counterpoint. But
when they marry one another.
Yeah, but when you bring when you bring in the lyrical element into the songwriting, it forces I think me as a player to pull back harmonically and and not step on the story with playing too much, and letting the chords breathe. So the lyrics are in the forefront, and the guitar is more of a support instrument for the story of the song, if you will. So both sides are different for me in the writing process, if I had to answer that question for you. Working with you, it was a two-person process. It has to be. It's a collaboration type of thing. For me, songwriting on a solo process is a solo moment for me. It's a moment of intimate discovery. For me, I'm the first guy to experience it, But for you and I, we're the first people to experience it,
We get to hear it more than anybody else.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And Alex too. Yeah.
For our young listeners who are aspiring to become a songwriter or a performer or a musician, I hope that there was something in that that just struck a chord with you and resonated with you. You must be proud of your son.
Extremely. Both boys chose directions in the arts. My youngest is a ceramist, started his own ceramics company. My oldest is doing solo acoustic performance.
And he's incredible.
Oh, thank you. He's worked very, very hard. Both of them worked very hard.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I saw you brought him up, when at Janie's one night.
Yeah, we actually now have a duo. We still formed a father and son duo now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've been playing around town for about 6 months now.
Oh, he must be having a time.
Oh,
of his
yeah.
life.
Well, I mean, you have to. I'm in heaven too, because you have to understand when you're on stage there and you're watching the crowd and you're looking over at your son, and it's just a tremendous moment for me. That's for sure.
What makes you more proud, watching your son play or playing with your son?
Boy, I'd probably just say watching him play. I would say, because on his own, it's just him, and he's having to wear all the hats on stage there, and be the front man and be the sound man and do it all, But equally as much though, no, to be able to play music with him in front of a crowd, that's equally just so gratifying.
I can't imagine how you feel after a gig with your son driving home afterwards. You're probably going through that, and you're looking back, and I remember 10 years ago, 20 years ago. How old is he now?
25. Yeah.
So 25 years ago, holding him, and here I am on stage, and I'm sharing music, Oh my God.
Well, what's
What a great
scarier is that I was just talking with a friend about this, is that
Sure.
where he's at technically at that age compared to where I was, he is light years ahead of me.
I was going to
When
ask
I was
you.
25, I wasn't doing this intricate finger style stuff that he's doing. So I tell him, I say, son, if you stick with it, you're going to be a monster, man. I mean, he's just so far ahead.
But he grew up watching you do it.
Very rightly so. And people have asked, they go, how do you think he learned? I tell people, I think there was a little bit of osmosis with this, and the fact that he grew up seeing dad play guitar in the house all the time, so that was normal. You know, I mean, you just pick it up and play it like dad does. And I think he just did that, and it showed. I just hear it coming from his room one day, and of course I started him. I showed him some basic stuff, but he has the ear, and he has the drive, and he has the passion for it, which is great. That's the important part, is the passion to want to do it.
You either have it or not.
Yeah.
It's the it factor.
The it factor is right.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
Well, I'm sure he's proud to have you as his father.
Oh.
And then of course to be the son of Bill Dutcher is just an incredible blessing. So
Oh, well, I'm very proud of him making his mark.
if you get a chance, go to billdutcher.com and check it out. Bill, man, what a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time. You're such a generous man.
Oh,
thank you for being on the yard today and part of the Big Yard Nation and our vibe. We're just so proud and happy to be with you and for you to be part of it. Thank you so much. That's all the time we have today. And again, thank you for joining us in the yard, where we've had the chance and the pleasure of speaking with performing artist and song collaborator Bill Dutcher. billdutcher.com. From all of us at Big Yard Nation, we hope that whenever you're out there getting to wherever it is that you're getting to, that all your dreams come true. Visit us at bigyardnation.com. Join us in the yard. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Big Yard Nation. And don't forget to like and subscribe to us here on YouTube. That's really important, and we really appreciate the support. We want the Big Yard Nation to grow. It's a vibe of love and hope and community and spreading all of that around. Until next time, this is Darryl Scotti. May God bless you and keep you safe. And from the yard, here at the Nation, peace out. God bless everybody.